This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com, enjoying a little vape pen to celebrate that my quarantine is over today. This is my 15th day back in Canada from Texas, so I'm happy about that. By the way, Jacques Rougeau, who I did an interview with last month, is looking great these days. I just saw he posted that. I know we got a lot of Mountie fans on this channel. Jason Sensation, in my interview yesterday, actually did a great Mountie Jacques Rougeau impression. And I just wanted to say one thing. As Piper says hello here, she wanted to be in the shot. She's assisting me on the other chair this morning. I put this picture of the Blood Hunter's boot after the last Forest of Fear match in my YouTube stories. And some people said, well, that's paint, that's pig's blood, or that's corn syrup. Not only did he beat the crap out of all of his opponents there, but he beat them up so bad, he actually busted the bone through one of his knuckles, as you can see in that picture with Blaze. And of course, he was victorious in his last Texas title defense. He's still the reigning Texas champion, as well as the Great North Wrestling heavyweight champion, as you see him there with Melina. So let me get into the wrestling news now that I've got that over with. By the way, there is going to be a message coming out later tonight from none other than Blaze and the Blood Hunter regarding their upcoming title defenses. Don Kernodle, who had wrestled for WWE but was best known for his work in the Carolinas, passed away by a self-inflicted gunshot wound May 17th, sadly, at the age of 71. He had been working in law enforcement. WWE is coming to the great state of Texas for a number of television tapings, actually their first live television tapings since WrestleMania. Friday, July 16th, they're recording SmackDown at the Toyota Center in Houston, where UFC just was. Money in the Bank is going to be at the Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, Saturday, July 18th. And the post Money in the Bank episode of Raw is going to be at the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Monday, July 19th. Of course, AEW's coming there in July as well. MLW's coming there in September. Texas is literally on fire right now as far as wrestling goes. And I can see WWE and AEW doing all their tapings in Florida and Texas, because you can run at full capacity in most places in those states. So I would suspect probably through the summer that most tapings are going to happen in Florida and Texas. And I am glad to know that tapings are going to be back with fans, as some of the fans watching here of the Hannibal TV are checking in. R.I.P. to New Jack. He passed away over a week ago. Naval said Texas needs the Blood Hunter back. I've heard he's going to be in San Antonio in September. So we'll know more on that as it gets closer. John Cena might actually be at least one of these Texas events for WWE. I guess it's still being discussed. Nothing's been finalized yet. Apparently, All Giant Stadium in Paradise, Nevada is the most likely candidate to host SummerSlam 2021. That's the new stadium in Nevada. And Dave points out in the Wrestling Observer that WWE isn't that strong in Las Vegas. They did not sell out the 16,000 seat Caesars Palace for WrestleMania 9 in 1993. And the very first Friday night SmackDown on Fox, which was a loaded card, only had 7,000 total in the T-Mobile Arena. However, tickets are cheap to fly to Las Vegas, and SummerSlam's a pretty big pay-per-view, and they can give away tickets too easily in Las Vegas as I drink my protein shake here because I'm going to train after I'm done this. Full of broccoli and various other things. I just have to say this. Joey B says, Ontario opening up. They ain't opening up anytime soon. The gyms are going to be closed here until the end of July. Thank God I invested nearly $4,000 in gym equipment, and I plan to buy more next week for my basement, but it's not the same. And there's no evidence that gyms are the hotbed for COVID. It's a bunch of crap. It really sucks, but I'm not going to get distracted by that tirade. For the people, I did post it as the screenshot of this video regarding the zombies, which was a terrible match that The Miz and somebody else were involved in. Looked really phony, and they had these zombies who apparently, after they ate Miz, they posed for a group photo shot with a couple of WWE employees. You know, wrestling companies love to do these group photos these days, just to break kayfabe for the hell of it. Apparently, WWE was paid $1 million or more to use the zombies. And this was from Warner Brothers because they're doing some movie involving zombies. Now, SmackDown only did a 0.44 rating this week. Raw did a 0.48 rating, and they got a ton of horrible publicity from that dreadful match. Was it worth the $1 million? I don't know. WWE made 9 cuts this week. Most of the names were told they were released due to budget cuts. The only 2 names that people are really talking about is Velveteen Dream, who's 25 years old, and I guess he had speaking out allegations against him and hasn't wrestled for a very long time, and referee Drake Warts. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if it isn't. I'm not familiar with them, and I'm not familiar with the other ones, and they have names that are hard to pronounce. I won't even bother. Just search WWE cuts if you want to know the names, but it's no one. Like, you can tell why they were cut. Lanny Poffo apparently currently lives in Ecuador and did not like a lot about the recent Randy Savage A&E special. And it's funny, Lanny Poffo did recently put out some stupid video saying he doesn't like me with some dweeb interviewing him, some dweeb Mark interviewing him. And the funny thing is, after I saw he lived in Ecuador, it's like, well, first of all, I haven't used him since 2012. So it's been about 9 years since I've paid him anything. He is quite old now. But the reason why he's probably bashing me is because he lives in Ecuador. He's not going to be working for Great North Wrestling anytime soon. So he doesn't care about burning a bridge with me. And that's all good. Raw, as I already mentioned, is 0.48. SmackDown, 0.44. AEW did its lowest rating since having no competition, 0.28. NXT only did a 0.15. Again, I've heard for so long what a genius Triple H is and how if only Vince McMahon would pass WWE to Triple H, it would do so much better. He's pulling in 0.15s as the guy pretty much in charge of NXT, from what I understand. In AEW news, I already mentioned that they have 6 live events coming up. The May 30th Double or Nothing in Jacksonville, has sold 3,800 tickets so far out of a 5,100 venue that's going to be open to full capacity, according to Meltzer. There is a July 7th show in Miami. It's a Dynamite taping. It's only going to be set up for 1,200 people. From my understanding, it's already sold out or very close to sold out. July 14th, outside of Austin in Cedar Park, Texas, they've sold more than 3,100 tickets, and the sellout mark is 4,200. July 21st, in the Dallas area, Garland, Texas, they've sold 3,000 tickets in a building that can hold 5,000. According to Meltzer, AEW ticket sales are not super hot or really much different than when the pandemic hit. Of course, if you're an AEW fan or whatever, a WWE fan, you're going to want to go to these live events if you live in those areas, particularly Texas, where they vaccinated a hell of a lot of people. They even vaccinated me in Texas, being Canadian, because as long as you reside in the area, they're open to giving vaccines because they want to clear COVID from the area. So I was lucky enough to get a vaccine. They've only vaccinated like 3% of Canadians. So luckily for me, I got it a lot earlier. But Texas is pretty back to normal from when I was there. Pretty much there's no mask rules anywhere where it'll say masks encouraged. Unless it's a federal building, people still shake hands. So I don't think COVID would really be a factor. You could run at full capacity there now. Frankie Kazarian, who's worked for Great North Wrestling before, and I like him. His father passed away May 17th. Sorry to hear about that. 57-year-old Don Callis is no longer VP of Impact Wrestling. He's expected to sign full-time with AEW, where he's been working as Kenny Omega's manager. He also works in Impact as Kenny Omega's manager, where Impact pretty much always gets a 0.04 rating. He's still going to have that role, but he will not be working as a vice president for Impact anymore. I'm sure AEW pays a lot more than Impact. In other wrestling news, PCW Ultra is going to be returning, from what I understand. And from what I understand, nothing official yet, but when they do return in LA, there's a very likely chance we will see the Blood Hunter back in PCW Ultra. Probably and there's a lot of PCW Ultra footage on this channel, as I was doing a collaboration with them. As I show off my Hannibal sweater, available in the description, or if you go to thehannibaltv.com, you'll find the link. But PCW Ultra, I've always said, is the best independent wrestling company in Texas, in my opinion. They sell out a lot, and they really put out a good product and use good wrestlers. Let's get into the other news. Kurt Angle is shooting a romantic comedy called Ask Me to Dance. Yesterday was the first show with fans at Arena Mexico since March 2020. Well, I wish Canada would allow shows with fans, because I know we're doing a lot better for COVID deaths than Mexico, but Canada will probably be one of the last places to open up, particularly Ontario, where, by the way, the town that I live in, Ottawa, hardly has any COVID cases. Most of them are in the Toronto area. So our whole province is paying for Toronto, which is ridiculous in my opinion. But I'm really mad about it. I'm really mad and furious about the repression in Ontario right now. MLW will be running Dallas in September, as I already mentioned. And of course, MLW talent regularly appear in PCW Ultra. Speaking of that, in UFC and MMA news, The UFC show at the Toyota Center in Houston drew 16,005 fans for a gate of 4,110,000, which is the record gate they've ever had in that arena in Houston. It had about 300,000 US pay-per-view buys and about 1 million Google searches, which isn't great for Google searches for UFC. Oscar De La Hoya versus GSP was being talked about, but Dana White says GSP can't do it because he's still under UFC contract. And as we've seen, it doesn't appear GSP wants to fight in UFC. I guess he figures he can make more money in boxing and he really wants to fight Oscar, but it ain't happening. UFC had an immediate sellout for their June 12th show in Glendale, Arizona. Arizona, of course, my favorite state. Conor McGregor had his third child, a boy, on May 17th. Bellator is going to do its first two shows with fans June 11th and 25th at the Mohegan Sun Casino, where they've done all their events with no fans as well. The Saudi Arabia boxing match between Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua that was scheduled for August 14th is 100% not happening now because Fury and Deontay Wilder had a rematch clause that Wilder is not willing to pass and took it to arbitration, which he won. So it's likely going to be Fury versus Wilder 3 in Las Vegas, July 24th. People had believed that Wilder was going to get paid off, but apparently it didn't happen. Wilder didn't agree to it. And just to show you how much money some of these rich Arabs have, I guess in Saudi Arabia, I guess the money that Fury and Joshua were going to make for that boxing match was $75 million each. Huge, massive money. Anderson Silva says he has retired from MMA, but he's going to continue to do boxing. I know he's got a boxing match coming up. Hopefully that goes better for him than his last MMA fights. The KWS promotion in Poland that gets huge crowds. It's going to run again June the 5th. And that's pretty much it for the Wrestling Observer News. I'll go into some of your questions. Heath says, we don't get enough big wrestling events here in Perth, Australia. Hope that changes because we love it. I can't see WWE. I know there is supposed to be a show in Australia in 2022. But I can't see them doing a lot of international travel for a while. Just for the risks of people catching stuff. Spade says Florida and Texas both have proud wrestling traditions. Good morning from Maine. Not too far away from here. WrestleMania 9 was the coolest because of the togas. Yeah, I honestly, there wasn't many good matches I can remember from WrestleMania 9. It was not one of the better WrestleManias, and I even found that at the time. The Giant Gonzalez Undertaker one was really bad. Shawn Michaels against Tatanka, I did not like. There was the Steiners against the Head Shrinkers, Bret Hart against Yokozuna, then Hulk Hogan came and won the belts. Then it was Hogan and Beefcake against Money Incorporated. That was the one where Hogan came with the black eye and people were suspecting it was from Macho Man or something. Macho Man, I don't think, wrestled on it. Anyways. Roadkick says he lives in the UK. And wrestling events absolutely suck over there. Well, I'm supposed to be coming to cover a World Pro Wrestling event in Gloucestershire, UK, next February 19th, I believe. That I think the Blood Hunter is going to be involved with. I think Too Cold Scorpio. There's been some talk Jeremy Prophet, Canadian champion, might even be involved with it, and then a lot of UK talent. I don't know all the details, but I do know they have a guy working on producing it that was involved in promoting a lot of the Olympia events in bodybuilding over the years and has good connections in the UK. So February 19th, if you live in the UK, the Hannibal TV will be in Gloucestershire, England. I'll get into a couple more of your questions, and then I'm going to call it a day. Rokit says Vince McMahon needs to retire. He will not retire. His fun is wrestling, and he's a multimillionaire, and it's his company. He can do whatever he wants, but whether Vince McMahon is in charge or not, WWE is only going to get more and more corporate. They got a 5-year deal with NBC. They're a public company. They have like a female TV show writer as their head of creative with no wrestling background. So don't expect anything to change. The only thing we can hope for is that maybe a company like PCW Ultra or Great North Wrestling will be able to come up with a viable alternative like ECW used to be. Tony says it's lockdown hell here in Toronto. Yeah, it's Toronto's fault that Ottawa is on lockdown. So it makes me hate the city even more than I already did. Mike says, speaking of, as I just said, Mike, there will be some Forest of Fear Great North Wrestling matches coming up. We posted Amber Nova versus Selena De La Renta custom match this week, which was actually the first Great North Wrestling match of 2021. There will be more custom matches. There will be more no fans matches, which I don't think any other company in Canada has done with as many views as I get. So I can tell you the moment we are allowed to run, even if I have to go to a different province, if it's a province where I have contacts, we will be one of the first companies to run, or we'll do it in association with a company in another province, and we'll go to another company and record matches for Great North Wrestling in another company. Jeff Hoover says WrestleMania 2 was great. He helped me promote a couple events in Napanee, Ontario, where we'd like to come back sometime. We got a lot of Great North Wrestling fans there. Alex says, do I think modern wrestlers rely on their movement more than psychology? I just don't think there's that many great characters anymore. As I was saying when I was talking to Jason Sensation yesterday or 2 days ago now, it was so easy to do for him to do impersonations of the guys from the 80s and 90s because they were such great characters. But most of the guys today are so flat that like he doesn't even do impressions of them because they're so plain. It's just it's boring. It's boring. And when they do character stuff like the zombies, it's so bad that it turns people off. Mike says he's behind on indie news. Thanks for the info. There's not much going on in indies really still outside of Texas and Florida. I mean, some states are opening up, but I haven't heard of really. I guess Tennessee, I saw a match where Jerry Lawler, I think, beat Big Cass in Tennessee, but it wasn't that huge of a crowd or anything like that. So I think it's going to be a while before they really get going. Jeff says no characters left in the world, period. There's some. There are some, for sure. I know that this man is still very much a character, and you can expect more blood and violence soon. And we're going to hear from Blaze and the Blood Hunter later tonight on the Hannibal TV, so make sure you subscribe.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates.